it's Julia, and for today's video I'm going to be doing my top 15 books of 2015. That's why my shelf is a mess. I've had to take a lot of books out and they're all beside me, and I'm going to show you guys my favorite books of the year. There's actually not 15, there's 16 on this list because I couldn't narrow it down, but I've been kind of dreading uploading this video like all year and making this all year because I cannot narrow it down. This was my first year avidly reading and I read a total of 160 books, which was amazing for me, and I'm really proud of that number. So I did read a ton of amazing books. These are the ones that stood out to me the most, and there is some on my shelves over there that I still absolutely love, that I still recommend to people. It doesn't mean that the other books are bad that are not on this list. It was really hard to pick 15 or 16 out of 160 books. That was very difficult, and this countdown is not like super accurate, and that's just because I wasn't gonna do a countdown, but I am trying to, and that's just because it's like I know some of them are supposed to be where they are, but then some of them I'm like that should be higher, but they're all great books. I recommend all of these ones I'm showing you guys today. These are the ones that made the cut that I will say are my favorite books of the year, so let's get right on into it. Also, I'm not going to be giving super detailed synopsis for each one, and that's just because we don't got all the time in the world here. So let's start off with the 16th book, actually, and that it's Angel Fall by Susan E. This is in a post-apocalyptic angel story. That's really all I can say for now, but it's really dark and eerie, and I really enjoyed my time. I really enjoyed the characters and the dark, eerie tone to it. Absolutely stunning. The rest of the series, I've done reviews for all of these, but the rest of the series I didn't love as much as the first book, but I really love the first book, and that's why I made it on this list. Next book I have here is Dream Fever by Karen Marie Moning. This particularly, I'm talking about the whole series, but this was one of my favorites, so I picked this one up. But the Fever series by Karen Marie Moning is an urban fantasy series that involves around the premise of the Fae. It's about a girl who moves to Dublin to investigate the whole situation of her sister's murder, and she discovers the Fae and that she can see them, and she meets mysterious people like Barnes, who owns a bookstore, and it's really, really good. It's really action-packed. It's really steamy. It's a really slow burning romance, so if you're into that, it's not really all about the romance. There's a lot of fighting and a lot of things going on. They're really, really quick reads, and that's why they made it on this list, because it hooked me so much, and I just finished this series actually in December, so that was great, but this definitely made it to number 15. Up to number 14, I have Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. I had to put a Colleen Hoover book on this list, and that's because I really adored her books this year. This book is a friends with benefits kind of relationship, but it is so much more than that. It is so detailed. It follows two plot lines, and we go back in time between some, like, the guy's perspectives were back in time, you know, and it's a really good romance. This is new adult, more leaning towards adults, so if you're younger I wouldn't pick this up, but this is really, really great. I really enjoyed it, and definitely one of the best Colleen Hoover books out there. I've read a lot of her books this year, and this was like my top one or close up there, like in my top two, you know, but yes, so that's why it made it to number 14. Next I have here Shatter Me by Tanara Mafi, and this book made the spot for number 13. I read this actually really early on in the year, and before I knew how hyped it was and everything, and I read it and I absolutely loved these books, and they were really like at the beginning of the year when I was kind of getting into avidly reading and things like that, so it was a really fun time and I really loved it. I remember like reading it in the halls of my school, like just like talking about it and like reading it out loud, and my friends were like, what are you doing? But I just really love these books, and these really should be higher up there, but it is really well hyped, so I do really highly recommend Shatter Me and the rest of the series as well. So next book I have here is Made You Up by Francesca Zappia. This book is actually a debut of this year, I believe, and this book has trigger warnings for schizophrenia, so if you are not comfortable with reading mental health issues and stuff like that, then don't pick this one up. But I love this. This was one of my favorite mental health books like ever, and I read a ton of them, so that really says a lot, and I really believe that they dealt with this really well. There's so many plot lines. The ending was amazing. So many quotes, so many things going on, so that's why it's at this spot here, and it should be a bit higher. Again, I can't make up my mind, but great book. Coming in at number 11, I have The Selection by Kiera Cass. This is a dystopian series that kind of is like The Bachelor, but with a bit more action and princes and princesses, and It's really interesting. It's not as cheesy as it sounds. It's actually so much fun. This is one of the series that I had the funnest time reading, that I just enjoyed so much, and I really got connected with this world and the whole palace and everything, and I really recommend it. Even to guys, it's not as girly as it sounds, you know, like there's guys on BookTube and stuff who love this series. It's a good series. I recommend it. That's why I made it to number 11. Next up I have here is a book that sticks out to me very much, and that is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This is a, I wouldn't say magical realism, but it kind of revolves around magicians and magic and these kids and a competition. It's really complex, but it's a beautiful story. The writing was absolutely amazing. One of the best writing styles I've read all year. It is a slower paced book, and I did have some issues with it, but it is still a wonderful book, and despite those issues I had to put it on my favorites list, so that is why it is up here. That's why it is number 10. I think I'm at number 10. Hopefully I'm at number 10. But next up I have here is My Heart and Other Black Holes by Jasmine Warga. This should be higher up on my list. Obviously it should be. People, if you've been here, you hear me talk about it all the time, that I'm actually tired of talking about it, but I love it, so I will continue to talk about it. But this should be a bit higher up here. But again, I'm sorry, I can never make up my mind. But this book has trigger warnings for suicide and depression and all that sort of jazz. So if you're not into that, or you can't read about it, don't pick this one up. But this is an absolutely amazing dark contemporary. It was one of the second dark contemporary I ever read. It's one of the best ones out there, so I highly recommend picking this up. And this is also another debut from this year, and if Jasmine Warga puts anything else out, I will pick that up. So yeah. Next here I have Mr. Mercedes by Stephen King. This book is a mystery thriller book, and it is not a mystery thriller, it's a crime mystery book, and it's actually a trilogy, and I can't wait for the third one, and the second one would also be on here, but I don't want to be so repetitive. But I absolutely love both of the books out. They're crime mystery thrillers. They're really fun, not fun, they're really dark and twisted, and I think Stephen King handles that genre really well. Like, people think he's just known for horror, but he's not. He can do other things really great, so I highly recommend. If this is adult, by the way, if you're into that, if you're into adult crime mysteries, highly recommend this one very much. One of my favorites. Obviously, it's on the list. It's my favorite. Next up I have here is Aristotle and Dante, Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Aliri Syons, and this is a young adult contemporary novel that revolves around two boys and their bond and them growing up, and it is absolutely beautiful. It's won 4 awards. You know, I've never seen so many awards on a book before, and this book was so awesome. This is one of the books that, I think one of the books on this list that I read in one sitting, one night. I read this in a couple hours. I read it in one night, and I absolutely loved it. It still sticks out to me. I've ticked off so many things, and it's just such a beautiful story. If you're into contemporary, I highly recommend it. Even if you're like worried about the hype, just pick it up. There's obviously people who don't like it, but I absolutely love it, and that's why it made it onto my list. So next up here I have You by Carolyn Kepnes. This is a adult thriller, again revolving around actually the premise of a girl getting stalked by this guy named Joe, and it's written in second person. It's really twisted, really dark, definitely one of the best thrillers I've read, and it is so amazing, so twisted. I really got sucked into the story and was always looking forward to picking it back up and reading it, and it is such a, it's so hard to talk about, but I did do a review on it, but it is really high up on here for that reason. So yeah. Coming in at number 5, I have Dark Places by Gillian Flynn. This book is another adult thriller, and this one is so amazing. I did a full review for this, link here. I love this book so much. Even the movie adaptation was amazing too. If you haven't seen that, you should see it. But of course, read the book first. It's a good book, but it is so amazing. Gillian Flynn would have been on this list twice. Gone Girl would have been here somewhere, but I didn't want to be repetitive. But this book is my favorite by her, so that's why I put it on. It shouldn't be on the list because it's not a book, it's a manga, but I'm not skipping it. Nope. That is Death Note. This comes in at the number 4 spot, and that's because I absolutely loved the whole Death Note series. It was the first manga I ever read, and I absolutely adored it, and I really want to reread them in the future. and I've watched the anime, and I had so much fun with these characters in this story, and Light and all the other people, and I draw them constantly. It's just, I won't forget these guys, so that's why it made it to my number 4. Coming into the top 3, these shouldn't be much of a surprise at all, but number 3, Clockwork Princess by Cassandra Clare. Made it through the Infernal Devices during the year, and Clockwork Princess was amazing, and I've talked about it like this whole year constantly, so I don't want to say much, but if you haven't read the series, still highly recommend it. Just give it a shot, even read, like, take it out at the library, read a bit of it. You don't like it, take it back, like, what can you do? But, well, it picks up at book 2. Book 2 is amazing. Anyways, but I love this book, so that's why it is in my top 3. Coming in at my number 2 spot is City of Heavenly Fire by Cassandra Clare. This is the concluding novel to the Mortal Instruments series, and it also kind of wraps up the Infernal Devices in a way, and it intertwines with the Infernal Devices. But this book, the pain and everything that went with it, I was so sucked in. I'm so sad the series ended, but when I think about these characters, I'm so happy, but at the same time I'm so sad that it's over. And if you're reading these books right now, enjoy them, because it's nothing like reading them for the first time. So for the number 1 spot, which should come as no surprise at all if you've been here, and this was actually the first book I read in the whole year. And like the second biggest book I read, but that is The Shining by Stephen King. Yes, I will not stop talking about this book, but if you haven't read The Shining yet, it's like a classic. You gotta read it. It's an amazing book. It's definitely obviously one of my favorites. It's the number 1 spot. What am I saying? It's basically my favorite book, like, ever. And it's so amazing. And thinking back, I read it at the beginning of the year, and I remember it so clearly. Why am I tearing up? This is weird. I don't do this. I read this at the beginning of the year, and I still remember so much from it. And obviously I don't know every single detail reading it like at the beginning of the year, like almost 12 months later, but I did do this for a book report. Actually, we got to choose our book, and I was like, I'm gonna do The Shining because, you know, and I loved it, and I still remember my book report, and I was so proud of it. Anyways, this is not about the book report, but I absolutely love the book and everything, and I don't know what to say. I'm speechless. It's my favorite thing, like, ever. So yes. And that concludes my favorite books of 2015. Let me know some of your guys' favorites in the down below. I know, hard to narrow them down, but just tell me some books you really enjoyed if you don't want to tell me your favorites. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. All the best in the reading year of 2016, and all the best, like, in your health, like, you know what I'm saying, in the year, you know, all the best in the new year. All the best. This is kind of fun. But I'll see you guys soon with a new video and more end of the year videos, unless I'm putting this up last. I don't know. I'm doing a lot of filming right now. But yeah, I'll see you guys soon. Bye.